Hi, my name's Tom Shue, and today we're going to edit this image in Photoshop. Uh, right now, all my images are in Lightroom because this is where I catalog everything, but we're going to hand this over into Photoshop. First of all, before we do edit in Photoshop, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to try to do. One of the reasons why you shoot on a white background, not only is it neat for high key, is you have the ability to extend the background for text. So say we shot her in a portrait mode, and say we were going to build a billboard, for example, and we need to increase the real estate. Well, shooting on white makes it real easy to do that. We can just use the crop tool in CS6, or we could just extend the canvas size if we don't have CS6 with the crop tool. So I'm going to make, with this image here, let's zoom in and look at a couple things. First of all, when you shoot on white, one of the reasons why I like to use a light meter is whatever you measure the light, say I measure her, it's going to render her exactly as she is. So she's wearing a white dress. The white dress will appear white, but we won't lose any detail. And if you look in the histogram, you see there's no white clipping at all, and there's no black clipping at all. So we will have hair detail, which we have all of the hair detail, and we have all of the dress detail. Okay, so it's a really high resolution image shot with a 5D Mark III at full size RAW, and this has been unprocessed. If you look at all of the color sliders, we haven't done anything to this image. So what we'll do is we'll hand this off into Photoshop by Control E. But before I do, I want to make two images. So I'm going to hand them both off, and I'm going to use them together. Because I want to make sure my background is actually white. Right now, you see that it's kind of like just under white. It's gray, so we're just going to make two images. So we're going to do right-click, create a virtual copy. Okay. Now with this virtual copy created, I'm going to turn on my highlight clipping mask. Okay, this is my warnings. And I'm going to take the whites and I'm going to bring them over until I see that they clip. And I'm going to do the same thing with the highlights. Try to get them to come over. There's my background. Now it's telling me that's all white. Okay? And that's what I want. I want it to be bright white. So I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to send both of these images into Photoshop. So I'm going to right click and I can say edit in Photoshop. Alright. I'm going to go back into Lightroom. And I'm just going to do that for a particular reason is because I just don't want to guess what's white inside Photoshop. So I'm going to hit the G key to go into grid view here in Lightroom. And I'm going to find the original image that we were working with, which was this one, I believe. Nope, it wasn't that one. It was this one right here. So we're going to go ahead, go into the develop module, and I'll show you that there's nothing been done to this. And we're going to edit in Photoshop, or we can do Control E or Command E on a Mac. And that will send this image into Photoshop. Let's pull up Photoshop and see where we're at here. And they're both inside Photoshop. Just a quick note, I'm not working in the small 720p. I'm working in a 1080p. So I need to free up real estate to work in. I got kind of tired of working in that small space to emulate. I was working on a laptop, so feel free to watch this in full HD. And yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we've got both images inside Photoshop. So this is the main image that I want to save. So basically, I'm just going to Control A or Command A to select all of this, and then Control C or Command C to copy. I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to hit Control V. Okay, now you see that I've got that layer on top. So it's just a matter of putting a layer mask on this, and then we'll just paint with our paintbrush her back into there. So we need to be painting in black with this layer mask selected, and we'll just bring her back in the way she was. And that's okay if she's going to be a little underexposed. I'll go in and clean that up in just a second. Let's pull this highlights. Are these shadows in? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll drag this opacity down and I'll just feather in. Of course, I'll zoom in some. I'm going to feather in where this white was. Okay. And then I'll drag the opacity down a little bit on that white layer. Okay. So it's just not so bright white. Okay. And then I'll do a global adjustment at the end so it all looks the same. Because you can see the inside of her arm area and that veil area is a little bit darker than the background itself. Let me bring my opacity up, maybe 60%. The whole idea is we want to keep detail where detail lives, and since it's white on white, it makes it really kind of tricky. If you're not real careful, you'll either blow out your detail or it'll just look dirty. Okay, I'm not going to play with the shadow too much down there. So I'll grab the opacity and bring it low and just paint on this veil until we get it the way we want. I'm just trying to bring in this little bit of information in the veil. Definitely clean up against that body. That's looking pretty good. Let's clean under her hand. And now we're just fading. Okay, we're just going to fade in that gray. I'm going to leave the shadow the way it was. Okay, just come over here and fade in on that gray. Alright, now this looks pretty good to me. Let's zoom out. Alright, so there we have it. We're on a white background now. And we can drag our opacity down some, and you can see that that's where it was. And we'll just bring it up just a little bit, okay? Just so it looks like it's more white than gray. It doesn't need to be a solid white like it was, because solid white has no detail. What we're going to do is just bring it up to where it appears white to our eye. And that looks pretty good to me. Do a little bit more painting right there. I might lighten this up just a hair down here. Okay, I like the shadow there. So there we go. Now we want to extend this background. Okay. Now I want it to be a landscape shot instead of a portrait shot. So this is real easy. First of all, what we'll do is we'll make one layer that's got all the information on it, which means that we're going to combine these two layers. And to do that, it's the Control Alt Shift E as in Edward, or Command Option Shift E, and that creates a new layer with everything below it on one layer. So that means we can delete this to keep our file size right. Okay, matter of fact, we can delete that image below too if we like, but we'll just keep that for a safety net. So typically, if you don't have CS6, this is what you're going to have to do. Is you're going to go to Image, Canvas Size. Okay, and you can choose if you want it to be to the right or to the left. So you have to think about it. Do we want it 3 times wider than it is now? Because then if that's the case, then we need to multiply this by 3. Okay? Because actually the width by 3. But I want to do like a 4. So it's going to be 3840 times 4. Okay? And let's pull this up real quick. So it's going to be, remember I said 3840 times 4 is going to be 15,360. So we're going to call this 15,360. 360. And we want it to be relative actually we want to be relative to here. So that means it's going to grow that way. And we'll extend it white. That's fine. Okay. Now this is 4 times as wide. Actually, that's a little too wide. So what we can do is we can grab our crop tool, and the crop tool works the same on all versions. It's a little easier inside of Photoshop. We're going to give us our 16 by 9 here. So I'll just bring this over to the edge. And we actually only needed to go 1, 2, so that's probably, let's see, how would that be? So it's like 2, and how wide is this compared to that? I'm not sure what the exact ratio is on that extend the canvas. Would be roughly 3. Okay, you call it 3. It's just shy of 3, 2 3/4. So we'll hit enter there, and it's going to crop it. So now what we have to do is we need to match this background with this background, okay? Which that's kind of easy to do. We're going to grab our paint bucket tool. We'll make a new layer, okay? And we'll grab, with this paint bucket tool, we're going to sample this color by clicking it. Okay, now it's telling me what color do we want to pick. We want to pick this over here. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll click OK. And let's bring this layer on top. With that layer selected, we'll just dump the paint bucket in there. And we'll see that if we put a layer mask on it, we can grab our brush tool, make it really big, turn the opacity up to 100. Okay, and now we need to paint with a black chip, okay, inside this layer mask, and we will reveal our subject. Now my brush is a little bit big, and we're working with a huge file. If you look at it, it's 301 megs. Bring the brush size down. Okay, we're going to hit X. Wow, working with this big file, it's making my computer slow down. I need to make the brush smaller. I love not having enough computer power. Not. Zoom in here so I can see what's going on. So we just paint that edge away. And there you have your extended canvas on white. Okay, so now you can put in all kind of text. You can put in magazine articles. You can put your billboard in, whatever you want to do. Well, this is one of the benefits with working in with a white background, is the ability to extend things. Now we can come over here and fix this shadow. So let's do this. Control Alt Shift D, Command Option Shift D, and that's going to put everything on a new layer. We'll delete that off, and we can actually delete this layer too. Wrong layer. Okay, we're going to get rid of this one. Okay, so now we've got our 2 layers. Alright, so now we want to extend this shadow down here, okay, over. So that's pretty easy. We're going to grab our clone stamp tool. Okay, we'll make it a little bit bigger, and we want the edge hardness to be 0. Okay, and let me zoom up just a hair so I can see exactly what we're doing here. And I'll start cloning around here and here. So we're going to grab our Alt key, make it big. Well, I seem to be on the wrong layer tonight. Okay, we'll come up here and we'll sample over. we're going to hold down the Alt key and sample again. And sample again. The whole idea is just to bring this over just a little bit so it doesn't look like it's falling off the page. I'm going to increase my brush a little bit, make some more short work of this here. Alright, so we've got it pretty extended now. We'll grab a little bit over here. Okay, that looks okay. Let's back that off. That looks better. So we'll just throw a layer mask on it. Okay, and we can paint in black with a brush. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just take some of this away and feather that edge in. Okay, so we can just make it look like, whoa, too much. Turn my opacity down. Just the whole idea is to take the edge of the brush and feather that out. Okay, we can also change opacity. Okay, so to see the difference. That was before, and that's after. Okay, that looks pretty good. Bouncing all over here. Alright, let's do one more. Control Shift E. Get rid of that. Alright, so this is what we're going to call, and I'm going to grab my clone stamp on tool one more time, and I'm going to select over here. I'm just going to kill some of this shadow a little bit. Alright, so now it's a little softer on the transition. So the next step we have to do is clean her up. So now we've got this huge file. We're going to go in here and clean some of this skin up. Now I could sit here and do this whole retouching and show you the final image. However, you've seen all this kind of skin touching and stuff before. I want to thank you all for taking time to visit my blog today. And hopefully you can use this technique to extend your canvases to make your images do whatever you want. Instead of having to deal with small images, you can always have high resolution images that you can use for movie posters or billboards or bumper stickers or whatever you want them to be, from large to small, and always maintain a high resolution image. That was the whole gist of today, was being able to extend your background by working on white. So thanks a lot for visiting today, and until next time, we'll see you soon.